Hey guys, it's Crimzo. What's going on? Sorry I haven't uploaded in a while. I've been busy. Got an exciting update about the new Zen line of processors. Benchmarks, official benchmarks, have been released. Like, actually by AMD. There's been a press event, and, well, it's nothing short of excellent. The top of the line, the Zen 1800X beats the i7-6900K in multi-threaded and equals it in single-threaded for half the price. It does that for 500 US dollars, as opposed to 1,000 for the 6900K. That's pretty damn impressive, to be honest. There's actually some competition in the market now, which is, I mean, that's the best thing for the consumers, really. I mean, the last time we had any real competition at the high end of the market was like when the Phenom 2s came out, and that was only really kind of the mid-high end, like 6600K equivalents. In today's money. I think the most interesting one though is the 1700, which comes in at about 20 quid cheaper than, or $20 cheaper, should I say, than the it'll come to me, 7700K, whilst providing much better multi-threaded performance. The thing is, though, it will suffer in single-threaded due to its lower clock speed. It only runs at about 3 GHz, but it can turbo clock up to around 3.7, I believe they said in the press event, which is not bad, to be fair. That's about the same, maybe a bit higher actually on the boost clock than the 5960X, which isn't even that old of a chip. That's based on Haswell E. Now, assuming that the 4, 6, and the 4 and 6 core CPUs follow this trend, then we should be seeing pretty good budget-oriented options. I mean, I think the most interesting one will be the bottom of the line $130 R3-1100, which, if it lives up to the rumours, will present some pretty excellent value that will provide i5 performance at i3 prices, essentially. But the one that most people are going to be buying is the 6-core. The one that comes in, I think it's the 1500. It comes in around the same price as the 6600K is priced at now, although, or 7600K even, whilst probably providing much better performance overall in especially in heavily threaded workloads. I honestly can't wait to see what these can actually do once independent benchmarks come out. I expect big things. Another thing I also want to point out is that AMD's implementation of simultaneous multi-threading actually appears to be more efficient than Intel's. From what we've seen, at least, the 6-core Ryzen CPU scored higher on the multi-threaded while scoring similarly on the single-threaded in the CPU-Z benchmark when compared to the 6800K. This points to it having better scaling on with things like hyperthreading and whatnot, and maybe even just per-core scaling. This obviously means better performance in multi-threading, which is good for content creation. It's good for workstation-based workloads like weather models and heavy video rendering and Excel spreadsheets. And I don't mean like your regular Excel spreadsheets, I mean the big monstrous ones that require about 5 gigs of RAM to run. The one concern this does raise is, will Intel attempt corporate espionage again? I find it unlikely, as I doubt they'll be able to fool the machine, for lack of a better word, more than once. Because they did try this back in the mid-2000s with the Pentium D, which was absolutely shite. It was the bulldozer of its era. But Intel ended up bribing many OEMs, including Dell, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't think Hewlett-Packard, possibly Hewlett-Packard, into using Intel processors over AMD processors, or they would cut supplies of Intel processors. Also, Intel was the more recognizable name, so more people trusted them. I don't think brand loyalty really played into that. It was just that Intel was the more recognizable brand overall. I think brand loyalty will play a bigger part now, as, well, you know, you got more fanboys, haven't you? You've got people who will defend, like, a brand or a product with their life, and, I mean, that's always going to happen. It happens in every market. You're always going to get retards. Anyway, I'm getting a bit off track here. I went from the new Zen architecture, the fanboys. I mean, yeah. I think I may have run out of things to talk about with this. Oh no, there is more actually. The new Zen, well not Zen, the new B350 base motherboards will start at $70. That isn't actually bad. That's a bit more expensive than the old 970 base boards for AM3 Plus, sorry. That's actually, that's about where most higher end B150 or B250 boards start, which actually probably lack a lot of the features that the B350 boards have, like overclocking, native overclocking support. Most B250 boards that you find, B250, Intel's, yeah, most of them that you find are probably won't support overclocking, as that tends to be locked down to the higher end Z170 and Z270 chipsets. The thing is though, with the lower end B350 boards, you're going to find that they probably do have quite lacking VRMs. This also goes for the lower end 970 boards on AM3 Plus. Lower end boards tend to have more lackluster features and generally won't come with VRM heatsinks. They won't have more VRMs in general. I mean, I have this like incredibly cheap Asus board lying around. It's an FM2 Plus board if I'm not mistaken. It has very few chokes, very few VRMs, and the power delivery is just overall a bit shit. I don't know why I said very few chokes and VRMs. Chokes are part of the VRM. Anyway, when you compare this to like a top-end 990 FX board for the AM3 Plus line or Z270 boards, they tend to have incredibly beefy power delivery, especially on stuff like the Sabertooth line and I suppose the Aorus line from Gigabyte for the Z270 and Z170 side of things. I can't remember the equivalent to Sabertooth for Intel. It'll come to me probably. But yeah, I think B350 is where most of the sales are going to be, with like the Zen 6 cores or higher end, or maybe even lower end 4-core CPUs. Now, there is some implications, long-term implications of the Zen architecture. If it sells well, if it gains a good market share, which I really hope it does, because that will bring a lot of competition back to the CPU market, it may result in 8-thread CPUs actually becoming mainstream, like the norm, like 4-core CPUs are now. This this will be a good thing, because there will be it will result in more efficiency, as frequency will no longer be the focus. Frequency usually requires an exponential amount of power to increase when compared to core count, and usually IPC, depending on how IPC is improved. Of course, it's not always the case. For example, the new Ryzen CPUs are more efficient, supposedly, than the new not even that new, are they? The Broadwell CPUs, whilst running at higher frequencies, but they do appear to have lower IPC, at least on the floating point side of things, as the 1800X achieves the same single-threaded scoring bench of 162 as the 6900K, which runs at a lower 3.2 GHz clock speeds as opposed to the 3.6 on the 1800X. The reason I say lower in floating point is because it appears to have slightly higher, or about even, in integer, as we have seen from AMD's video rendering demos. What class do I go as? Yeah, in case you're wondering, I'm playing Battlefront 2 here with the, I think it's the Dark Times mod, Dark Times Rising Sun. The mod is available from moddb.com. It's a pretty good mod. It's not the most stable of mods, I must say, but it's decent. It really is decent. I would recommend it to anyone who has Battlefront 2 and wants more content for it, because it does provide quite a bit more content. Several new maps, and especially like this one here. It's Alderaan. That's pretty cool, I must say. Mods like this. It's amazing how much time people put into these mods. It's amazing. Like it's like, say something like Skyrim, for example. There is probably more content. In fact, there is definitely more content in the community-made mods than there are in the base game. That really is something. It really goes to show the dedication of some people. I have attempted modding in the past. I am not very good at it. And that's an understatement. So, yeah. To summarize, Zen looks promising, modding is good, and have a decent day. Bye.